All right, so that thing's cool. I kind of want one.
All right, we can arrange that.
Welcome back. Today we're going to diverge a little bit from the usual EV charging content that I make here on State of Charge. And that's because I just got a message from a friend of mine who used to live in New Jersey. He's recently moved out to Colorado. And he has a Tesla Cybertruck. And when he got the Tesla Cybertruck, he decided he wanted to make a custom pop-up camper for it. And he partnered with a company to make that. And he's back in New Jersey for a couple of days. So he messaged me and he said, hey, do you want me to stop over the house and show you the pop-up camper? So I said, of course, because the thing is really cool. So that's what we're doing here today. Eddie's on his way over to my house. We're going to get a full tour of the pop-up camper that's specifically made for Tesla Cybertrucks. And Eddie's also going to let us know how you could get one if you have a Cybertruck and want this super cool pop-up camper. So let's get into it.
All right, so I'm here with Eddie Hammerling. Eddie is a New Jersey guy. He lives in Colorado now, but I know Eddie from years ago at car meets. You know, we used to go to electric car meets and stuff back when EVs were kind of new. So, but we've lost touch. I really don't, we haven't really communicated too much in the last couple of years. But now you're doing something really interesting. And you messaged me and said you're coming back to Jersey and
needed some pizza.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got something interesting to show. So what are we standing in front of here?
All right, well, this is what you're seeing here is the first ever CyberPhoenix. It's essentially a pop-up camper. It's in the low position now, obviously. And the reason why we've created a camper as such is mostly for coefficient of drag, right? So the wind is gonna come over and stay flat and get over top. And believe it or not, it's not no loss, but we are seeing, it's measurable, but what I would tell you is it doesn't change your behavior.
Okay.
We can charge to 80%. I can drive it. If this truck was empty, I could drive it the same way it does with the camper. And the camper, we should have done this beforehand, but I would say it's about 1,200 pounds empty. Dry is what it's referred to. But with all the water, you'll see this thing has everything possible that you could possibly imagine. I would say it's probably in the 1,600 pound area, maybe slightly more depending upon what we're doing. Sometimes we have extra refrigerators, sometimes we do whatever. But for what you're doing, what it's carrying, it's, I think, pretty darn impressive. And we weren't really sure that it was going to be this good.
It looks pretty impressive to me. And one of the things that I noticed is the aero is much more important for efficiency than weight. You said it doesn't make that much of a difference. Just out of curiosity, what's your efficiency like without the camper and with the camper, roughly?
Best case scenario, when we're driving with the camper, I would say we could be in 450 to 500 and something watts per mile.
Watt hour per mile.
Which is pretty damn impressive, I would argue. And so I think with it empty, I think you could say high threes, low fours generally. Again, so many variables, headwind, temperature.
I do the range testing and everything.
Everyone knows you.
But like for instance, I never did a scientific study when I put my winter tires on, the big BF Goodrich KO2s.
Right.
But I know on average, it averages like 0.2 of a mile per kilowatt hour less. You know what I mean? I could figure out the math, how much, what that relates in miles.
We're going to do KO3. Once these tires are done, which they're getting there with all this highway driving we're doing, we're going to put KO3s, and so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they don't do KO2s anymore. They're KO3s.
Exactly.
I bought mine like 3 years ago, and they were the KO2s. But I love those BF Goodrich KO2s. Anyway, enough tire talk. This thing looks badass. Now, give me a full tour of it. So let's walk around the back. Well, first, you've got to pop it up, right?
Exactly.
So let's pop this thing up, and then I want you to go inside and show me what you did in there, because this thing's really cool. And at the end of the video, we'll talk about how you can order one if you're interested in getting one.
Let me go over one thing since it's closed and I have everything opened here. If you know anything about campers, this is your typical outdoor shower. So the camper has about 20 gallons of fresh water. So you have an outdoor shower. This is the water fill. There's two ways of doing that. This is to fill the tank, and this is to do what's called city water. You hook a garden hose to here. You're at somebody's home. You're at a campsite. You hook city water up, and then you essentially have unlimited water supply. You're not using the tank. This is your standard propane cylinder. Now, this camper can be done. Anyone that's possibly interested in this thing, the way I have this set up, you can do this any way that you see fit. You could go completely without propane and just have induction cooktop and electric heating and so forth. But in our case, we're in Colorado. We also winter camp. A lot of people don't do that, but we'll be in teens, below teens, camping with it winterized. And so having a fossil fuel is certainly a better way to go. So anyway, this is where the 20-gallon cylinder is.
Cool.
I don't know, we just go around the back or pop this thing and see what's going on.
Pop it up and we'll take a look.
So to pop it up is very easy. There's 4 clamps. There's one right here. They have little locks on them if for some reason you went away and didn't want anyone messing with it, but we never do. They slap up there, lock down under tension. There's 2 on this side.
The other side.
All right, this side is unlocked, and so now I'm gonna raise the top. This is super easy, Tom.
Okay.
There's just a switch. Actually, you can do it from standing position if you want. You reach in here, I'll show you the button when we get inside.
Okay.
But you basically just hold this button, and it'll take about 1.5 minutes. Some campers have a version where you can just push the button and it automatically goes up without you holding it. They've opted, Phoenix Pop-Up has opted to not do that just because, heaven forbid, you haven't undone the latches or there's something obstructing up top and you push the button, people panic, and all of a sudden you've done some type of damage. So we just have a dead man switch. You have to be here pushing it. But as you'll see, takes about 1 minute and 30 seconds. You could also hop, if it was raining or something, you could hop inside and do this from the outside, but I'm just...
How high up does it go? How many feet higher than where it is now?
I'd say it's about 3 feet. Okay. I'm 6'1", one of my sons is 6'3". We can stand in there without hitting your head once it's popped up. You can also short it. Like for instance, this thing fits in practically every parking garage. So we've not only have we driven into a parking garage, but we've camped inside a parking garage. So you can fit inside almost any one, and then when you get inside, if you wanted to lift the top, you could lift it to the maximum height of the ceiling so that you don't strike anything.
Yeah. What is it with the tent down? What's your height? So do you know what your clearance is?
This obviously fluctuates for a couple reasons. One is because the Cybertruck has I can go into low, medium, and high, or very high. I would say you're probably, again, there's a vent on the roof that you can't see from where you're positioned. So I would say it's about 6 foot, maybe 8, something like that. It's pretty.
No, the top of this has to be higher than 6'8", no?
Well, when I mean
I'm just showing for clearance if you're in a parking lot. It looks like it's.
So I'm 6'1", so you figure, right, I'm sorry,
it's probably a little over
7'2".
Yeah, somewhere around there,
Okay, somewhere, again, but
you can lower it.
Exactly, so we're in a high mode. So we're in the highest mode that you can be in under non-off-roading conditions. So you could be in, actually you could set it to, there's a position where you can load people into the car that goes really low. So there's 4 positions. This is the highest of them all.
All right, well, let's take a look inside.
Okay, cool. So this is little pull down steps that basically folds up and sits right here. But when you get to the back of the camper, you just open the door, pop the steps in, takes 2 seconds, and here you go. So I took the liberty of opening a few windows already so that the lighting is a little bit better.
Okay.
But as you'll see right off the bat, this thing is a lot bigger inside than one would imagine. You basically have a bed. It's not a queen. It's slightly smaller than that. You have a 4-person, I'll take these pillows and put them on the bed so they're out of the way. But essentially we have a 4-person dinette. So it's really nice. You go to the beach, you have a couple cocktails with some friends. You can eat here, socialize and so forth. Here you'll see a 2-burner stove. As I mentioned before, if for some reason you wanted to have this with induction, you could certainly do that. This is the sink here. So that is obviously hooked to the 20 gallons of water, as I mentioned. There's a hot water heater, so we have 6 gallons of hot water inside this compartment. You know, we have all these compartments have stuff stuffed in here and there for cooking and, you know, cutting boards and utensils and so forth.
Storage over here.
This is actually a refrigerator.
Okay.
This is what I laughingly call the cyber fridge. It's, you know, it's stainless or aluminum, and so I said we had to have one. But this is a dual zone fridge. We actually, I just pulled it out for the purposes of this video, as you know, but we installed a second DC plug. So you have the ability, when we get into the electrical system here, you have the ability to do anything you want here. We throw in an extra refrigerator because my wife and I are traveling for over 30 days. And so we make one into a refrigerator, one into a freezer. And so I just put in this additional DC 12-volt plug, and now we ran the refrigerator here. I took it out just so when we're walking around there's a little bunch of space, but underneath the refrigerator is a propane heater. I've used this again in Rocky Mountain National Park. It's 10 degrees outside. You could basically sleep in shorts and a t-shirt. It's perfectly warm. The pop-up section of this camper is insulated. So actually one key feature I'll show you here oops, let me fold this down, is that these have both winter windows, and so you can obviously have the screen, but if we're camping in the wintertime, you want to see out, but you don't want the air blowing through or it's cold, you basically just leave that like that. So now you still have the thermal benefit and without the wind blowing through, but summertime comes around, you're at the beach, it's Velcro, you open them all the way up, and you also can, any of these, you can sort of short them in any way. You want a little bit of air, or a little bit of light, whatever it is. And there's windows like this in the front, behind us, on all sides. It's really, really cool.
You get good cross ventilation.
For sure,
the bed's big too. That's a good size bed.
For what it is. I mean, look, my wife and I are used to sleeping in a king size bed, but it does the job. It's pretty comfortable. For what you're doing, the fact that we're on a 6-foot bed, Cybertruck that's 6 foot with the tailgate down, it's the amount of space that we have is rather incredible in my view.
So my thoughts go to, if I'm camping, alcohol. All right, where do we store the alcohol? Is there like a wine fridge here? Well, how many bottles of beer will fit in this fridge?
This is true.
You know, that's super important to me.
Well, you could certainly stuff some bottles in here. We usually do. Actually, I had a bottle of tequila in here because I like my tequila nice and chilled. But you can see this refrigerator. I don't think there's the bottles in there now, but half of this can be a freezer, half of it can be a refrigerator, or it can be all of one or the other.
And it looks like there's enough room here. If you wanted to add a fridge, a regular fridge with a glass door on the front, I think you could fit something here, like a stand-up fridge.
Yeah, but the problem you're forgetting is right. So at the end of the day, everything has to come
be at
down
that
to
level.
This so that's sort of why we have the extra refrigerator. But there's certainly places too. For instance, we did this in another camper we have. You could mount across the back like a wine bottle holder, and you could stick bottles in there or whatever else. As things go on,
I need my alcohol, you know. So.
For sure. We're also going to be putting a box off the back of the camper too for extra storage. But speaking of storage, here's a cool feature. Here, I got a spot for your stuff. So if you just lift this up, this is a huge storage area. My wife likes to use this for clothing, but you can certainly put anything in here you want.
Definitely, that's a good storage.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And so another compartment that we have is actually under this. If you look here, this drawer this is like where we have dry food. It's hard for me to pull it out from the angle.
But I got you. Yeah.
Let me jump down.
Let me back out a little bit so I can.
So here we go. So again, forgive us because we've been out of the camper for a couple days since we're at my folks' house, but you get the idea. This is essentially the length of this area, and you can load this with chips and all dry stuff that
about 3 feet by maybe 20 inches. So that's a good.
Another interesting feature. This table comes down. You can remove the table completely, lower it down to this point. This becomes a bed. So not only can you fit 2 people on the bed there, but if you had 2 small kids, you could fit them. The dinette turns to a bed. Easily fit 2 kids, but you could fit one adult. Also, if you flip, this thing again is a jack of all trades here. This will flip up, it's on hinges right here. If you took the table off, lift this up, the bottom of this thing is a shower pan. So there's a shower that was in a shower curtain that's underneath here, and also piped water. Right. And so you'll see these little hooks here. So you basically put the hooks around here, you have your shower pan, and you could essentially shower inside here.
If you want to.
Is it massively convenient? No, but you can do it. Or worst case, if you throw on a pair of shorts or you were really brave, you could go out there and take a shower on the exterior. For Cybertruck people, this is one. So I'm going to go over the battery system here, which is pretty damn impressive, I think. But this is the Cybertruck power. So basically, I put this outlet in, but basically what it does is it runs down to that there's a NEMA 1450 outlet, but also a 20 amp, 220 amp, 120 volt outlets.
Yes.
It's plugged into that. It has your USB A and C, your 20 amps. Now it's not working right now. I'd have to go on my phone or go on the screen and turn it on.
Turn on the Cybertruck's power.
But this has its own power. You can drop this thing on the ground and drive away. It will, almost 99 times out of 100, it will function completely on its own. But you want to use Cybertruck power, so I'll give you an example. We go up in the Rocky Mountains, it's really, really cold. We know we have ample battery left in the Cybertruck. And if we have ample battery, rather than waste propane, we have an electric heater. And so all night long, instead of using propane, where it has to be refilled, or maybe we need it in an emergency, we use the electricity because we know we can replace that quickly, and we run the heating the whole time with Cybertruck power, as opposed to using the fossil fuels in the camper. So and you can do anything. 2 weeks ago, we were in the parking garage, a person with an ICE car, the battery was dead. I have a jumper, I plugged it into the outlet, and we charged this vehicle.
I noticed there's solar panels on the roof.
Absolutely.
We haven't talked about those yet.
Right, so there's 400, it's thin film, again, there's no wind drag or very, very little. It's 400 watts. That is hooked to this system right here. Matter of fact, you're gonna see there's storage on both sides. There's water tanks we'll show you, and there's also some basic storage. I'll pull this off. So we're big into supplementation and taking our vitamins. So we store all our stuff there. But if you can get in here with the camera, it's a little tight. Okay. So this is a multi-plus Victron, which in my view is literally, you can't do any better. This is top of the line. It's 12 volts, it's 3,000 watt maximum inverting, and has a disconnect there, and then there's a wire, a manifold there that we can hook to. So I've added a couple features to this thing. I added propane monitoring. We hooked it to this the Servo GX, which again, I don't know how much you know about this type of system, but there's the Servo GX that you can. I hooked a water float monitor for the water tank, so now we know how much water. And if you look back here, this is sort of hiding. This is the brains behind the operation. This is your display for your Victron system. So you see our battery is at 100%. The solar won't be that high because the batteries are full, but this thing is easily maintaining all our energy needs without having to plug in. So even with 2 refrigerators, we were down in Florida, we were in Tennessee, even here now it's probably close to 90 degrees. This truck is able to maintain all this needs, 2 refrigerators, lighting, the outlets, whatever it is. I have Starlink on here as well, a portable one. So we're self-sustainable. It's like a bug out vehicle. We can go whatever we want.
The solar is powering all the ancillary stuff.
You could add 2 more panels, or you could add more batteries. But at this point, we have 400 amp hours of Victron batteries and 400 watts of solar. And so we're balanced. It's been designed properly. You could always, for some reason, I don't know what, maybe you have a CPAP machine that's running all day long, you wanted to add something, but for all intents and purposes, we don't need any more batteries, we don't need any more solar, because we're generally maintaining over 50, 75% battery percentage almost all the time.
But those panels won't ever charge the Cybertruck's high voltage battery.
When people ultimately go to our website, my website, we have another camper that's from Australia that you tow that has its own EV charging station. It's all that stuff. That you could do. Now here, theoretically, could I plug in a mobile connector and do 12 amps at 120? Yes, but you know as well as I do, that's a slow pace. And what the problem is even that power usage will outrun the battery in the solar system. So yes, you could do it. Maybe if in an emergency I needed to dump, we were 2 miles from making it, or if I was gonna stay there for a month, could I do something? But not designed that way in this particular. The other camper that we have that has, 20 kilowatt hours of battery and its own Tesla level 2 charging station on board, that thing can power.
That thing can power, just curious. I didn't think so. And with the amount of panels that are up there, to be honest with you, you would, even if you can get all that power right into the battery, it would be a very long time to make any difference.
If it was cold, it might be warm. It might be warm by the time you're ready to leave.
Yeah, so I mean, I have 40 panels on the roof of my house, solar panels, big full-size panels, and even that doesn't make enough to do my whole house and my EV charging.
At least not live, maybe.
So
all right, so one other thing we could show you here in this compartment, it's not too exciting, but it's just, this is the water tanks here. There's also some more storage. Again, you don't normally have to lift up, but I'll get these out of the way. So we have some miscellaneous stuff, towels and so forth, and you don't want to pack too much stuff in here, because if you have things like this is your solar charge controller, so you don't want to whatever, but I have a water filter, and underneath this is the 20-gallon tank. So you have this for storage, and you could throw a couple silly things in here. This is the water pump for the entire system.
Okay.
What else? Cool. I think we've basically, this is over here. Again, this thing has power ports everywhere, USB, USB-C. This is the controller for lifting and lowering the roof.
This is what you were pressing and holding before.
Exactly. These are the lights. The first 2 lights light up, so you don't have to come inside. You can just throw the lights on. And this is the water pump. Again, forgive the mess, but this is just the kitchen area, pots and pans, and so on and so forth.
If you put some racks in here, you can store a lot more stuff.
We've only had it for several months now, so we haven't fine-tuned everything, but you get the idea.
Really cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we got most everything. This thing is awesome. Could you make one for my Lightning?
Sure. Actually, the truth be said, Phoenix. So I basically partnered. Speaking of that, right?
Well, let's talk about. Let's go back outside and we'll talk about how you came about doing this and who you partnered with.
Okay.
All right. We'll go outside.
I'll throw this back. Thanks.
State of Charge is powered by Qmerit, North America's premier installer of electric vehicle charging equipment. After I've helped you decide which charger to buy, follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. And if you do follow that link, Qmerit will waive the $150 installation deposit. But this is an exclusive offer for State of Charge followers. So in order to get that offer, you must follow the link in the description of my videos.
All right, so that thing's cool. I kind of want one.
All right, we can arrange that.
So first, tell me what made you decide to do this? Like, what was the impetus to doing this? How did you get started?
Okay.
Tell me the whole deal about this thing.
So we're a camping family. Even though we're from New Jersey, we spent half our lives with our young kids traveling across the entire country, been to practically every national park, gone to Iceland in campers, gone to Ireland in campers. I've owned big, huge F450 campers that have 5,000-pound truck campers on top. So been around the block into that kind of thing. I used to own a solar company too, so I was very connected with making these things sort of off-grid. So when I was tired of basically doing $250 fuel, or maybe $200 fuel up when the diesel was at its highest price, or maintenance and the size, was huge into EVs, and so like one sort of matched the other. We were always into campers, and so I was like, I knew as soon as the Cybertruck came out, they were talking about it 5 years ago or whatever it's been, pre-COVID, that I knew that this is what we're gonna do. Yeah. So I basically contacted a bunch of manufacturers that I thought knew what they were doing and said, look, I got a skill set. Do you know about the Tesla? Do you know what it can do? And many of them don't know anything about it. But the company that we used here has been making one-off campers for a million different vehicles, from Unimogs to pickup trucks to whatever.
And what's the name of that company?
They're called Phoenix Pop-Up. Okay. They're in Denver, Colorado. All right. And so we basically partnered, him and I partnered together. Again, they had no skill set really when it comes to EVs or how you might want to design this thing.
But they make pop-up campers.
Yes, so for sure, a million of them. They've done this. This is not their first rodeo. They've done it a million times. And so of course this is very unique because of the size of the Cybertruck being very different than any pickup truck that you would normally have. And so we work together. Now they built the whole thing, and so they'll also work with anyone. Like, so if anyone, like I said, if you wanted induction cooktop, or you wanted it to be blue, or you wanted to, exactly. So this doesn't have to be that way. And some of the things you'll see on this are actually things that I've done. So don't assume that this is what it has unless you just talk with them. Yeah. But that's, when you get in contact, you can work those things out.
I know the price is going to vary because there's a lot of different options and stuff. But what roughly does something like this cost?
So if you go to cybertruck01.com.
That's your website.
Yes. So I have a TikTok, YouTube, all types of channels. Everything is under the heading of Cybertruck 1, spelled out O-N-E.
O-N-E.
If you go there, you're basically getting an introductory offer that's better than going to their website directly. Now, again, at the stage of the game between tariffs and all things going on, and it's unique, and you can't just cookie cut build this thing, I would recommend going to the website for the exact number, because things change, and I hate putting something on YouTube and then 2 weeks later we lower the price or whatever else. But go to cybertruck01.com. You'll see the introductory rate that's from Cybertruck 1, and you can basically, again, and some of that could be a little cheaper, a little more, depending upon what you want to do. If you want to do something, we have people calling us up. We had one gentleman who's a musician, and he has a bunch of very unusual needs, and so they're doing a camper that suits his needs. They're vastly different than, say, what mine are or somebody else. But my point is, whatever you want to do, you want to have this with a bunch of EV charging ports so you can do your rolling testing, maybe they can do something like that.
So, well, that's cool. But I mean, I don't want to put you in a box here, but we got to give a rough number.
Okay.
Is it, I would say 50,000,
yes,
60,000?
I would say 50s.
Yeah, because off my head, I said 50,000 in my head, 50, 60,000.
Yes, that's where you're going.
Because, I mean, these things are expensive to custom make, you know, so
exactly.
And everything that you have in there, it's worth it to make.
Correct. And we're using like I said, the Victron is the best system going out there. So we're trying to use high-end materials. they're just not cookie cutter. And again, over time, I hope, like anything else, economy of scale, that we can do a little bit better, but that's where we are right now.
And they order it through your website?
Well, that will basically come to my website first, but then it'll ultimately get bumped. There's a direct link that then you'll deal with them directly. You'll be on the phone with them, you'll talk to them, you'll negotiate whatever you want to do. And so like, I'm sort of a pass-through, but I'm also there just so people understand. I know a lot about this thing. I'm obviously the face of this stuff.
You know as much as they do.
Exactly.
I mean,
in many cases, I know more when it comes to things that have to do with
specifically with the Cybertruck.
And I gladly and have been working with clients that they have. So if they have a question, will this work? Will that work? Can we do this or that? I will obviously add my expertise when applicable.
All right, well listen, thanks for letting me know that you were back in Jersey. And you came by to visit. We already checked out the State of Charge garage, so you had some fun checking that out. Do you need any extra range? Do we need to charge over there before you leave?
I am good, thankfully. But I want to thank you too. You were gracious enough to have us here today.
No, this is great. I love this stuff, man. I'd like to borrow this damn thing from you and take it on a cruise.
We're going to go to Island Beach State Park, right? You're familiar with that. We'll go out there and we'll do some surf fishing and have a campfire.
You're going to make videos of that?
Yeah,
and put them on your YouTube channel.
Exactly.
Which is Cybertruck 1. Cybertruck 1. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Really, it's a good channel. He's got really good content about and if you're interested in this thing, that's the best place to learn about it before you even call the company to start doing things, because you'll see all his videos about what he does and how he uses it, and that'll help you decide if this is something that you might want to buy. Listen, Eddie, thanks for coming by. Welcome back to Jersey.
All right,
once a Jersey guy, always a Jersey guy.
I mean, we have to get pizza. We can't eat any more Colorado pizza.
It's not a perfect state by any means. There's a lot here I don't like, but there's actually a lot that I do like about New Jersey. And so I know we're the butt of all the jokes. And now with Tesla losing its contract for superchargers on the turnpike, I don't know if you heard about that.
Very much aware.
You know, so yeah, I mean, that fight's not over, but you know, another company won the bid, and they don't want Tesla there. I don't know what we can do, but I know we're getting a lot of Jersey hate now because of their taking out Tesla superchargers.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, well, like I said, that's not done and over yet, so maybe we'll be able to get them to be kept. Listen, thanks for coming back. Enjoy your time in New Jersey, and
thank you for your time.
Good luck with the Cybertruck 1.
All right, thank you.
And I'd like to thank Eddie once again for making the drive to my house to show me the camper, and not only show it to me, but agreed to give us a tour on camera. So that thing is really cool. It is expensive. I checked out his website. It appears that they started around $60,000. So it's a little bit more than what I was hoping. I was hoping it was somewhere in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. But listen, that's what things cost these days, and this is a custom-made pop-up camper that you could basically take anywhere. Well, the Cybertruck is going to take you to that anywhere, but then you could live in the back. It's got all the amenities that you need, and it's got a lot more space than I actually thought it would. I'd have no problem with me and my wife chilling in there when we were camping, you know, so it's a really, really cool option, and I like the fact that Eddie said it really doesn't even cut too much into the efficiency of the Cybertruck when you're going distances because of the aero. So it is heavy, but the weight doesn't play that big of a role at speed. So he said that, you know, it affects the range, but not nearly as much as he thought it would. Listen, if you're interested in something like that, check out Eddie's website, Cybertruck 1, and he has a YouTube channel. He's on X, all that stuff. It's all Cybertruck 1. And if you're interested in getting one, contact Eddie, and he'll set you up with the company that actually custom designs it and give you some pointers on maybe what to do and what not to do, because as you said in the video, Eddie knows the Cybertruck. The company that builds these does it for all different types of vehicles. So Eddie would be a good person to you know, ask some questions with, and maybe he could steer you in the right direction if you want to get one of these. So anyway, well, that's all I have here today. I just thought it would be a fun video to take a tour of this really cool pop-up camper on a Cybertruck. If this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.